Hey, welcome. Hope everyone's well. Wait, is this working? Okay. Yeah, I think this is working. I don't know how this update's going to go. I am not starting well. Hey, Heathen, two more V's, Sigma, Alvaro, Bravery. Good to see you. You're welcome. I had the thought that should I do an update and then didn't make any sense to me to do one. Fuck, how do I explain this? It felt like there was no reason to. The thoughts just popping in my head from that emotional state were like, who the fuck cares? Why do an update? Like, the thought was that nobody cares. Um, and I decided I checked Discord and someone had just sent me a message like 10 minutes before. And so a few times I've answered just the newest message. So I clicked on that and it was somebody asking me how I was doing. And combination of I had been wondering if I should do an update mixed with I did not know how to put into words. Writing, like typing, is very hard for me right now. It's really hard to write a title for this, which is why it just kind of followed the pattern of the last couple. But even though there's people here, and even though I had messages asking me how I'm doing, it doesn't fucking process right. It doesn't make sense to me. It still feels like there's no point in doing this. I don't know how to describe it. But anyway, here it goes. So as of the fatigue I've had since COVID still hasn't fucking lifted. The state I was in for a while, that kind of Taoist place I got to, I had to pull myself out of that a week ago. Because there were some things I had to deal with that I didn't have the energy to deal with. But so I had to pull myself out of that space and deal with a few things that were very, very, very fucking difficult. I am just not getting any energy back. Like I'd said in the last update, like I'm still fatigued all the time, but I can't sleep as much. Is it that the fatigue's easing a bit, or I was wondering if it was like mania clashing with the fatigue? And it's definitely that now. So fucking, I don't know, 4 or 5 days ago or something. I'm not going to get into the specifics about what I had to deal with, like stuff about other people or my personal life. I'll just be vague about that, but I'll go in depth on emotional reaction if anybody cares. Day when I was dealing with a bunch of stuff and was just worn out. I also got a twist, and it's an old knife that's been in my back for a long time. There's the opportunity for someone to put a twist in it. Just a little fucking jab. And I recognize that compared to other shit I've been through, it had the effect of the straw on the camel's back. It wasn't a big deal. Wow. It's a debate. But anyway, it just connected to all the rest of it. And it was like, during the day, I held that all in place. Like, was doing the fucking work of allowing pain without judging it. Just trying to come from a place of forgiveness and acceptance. And I held that. But it must have fucking got loose while I slept. Woke up the day after that. It was like, the moment I was awake, there was this little fucking voice in my head, like the first part of my brain that was active. It was this little, not that, fuck. Yeah, I'm not going to worry about trying to describe it too properly. It's fucking hard. But anyway, it's as if there was this little voice in my head that said, if we just get up and kill ourselves right now, no one will see that coming. And like, without it being all linguistic, kind of an emotion and a thought wrapped up together. The first thought was that I've been handling everything very, very well. Things I had to deal with, even when hard internal states arose, I handled them very, very well. People from the outside couldn't tell what I was going through. I was, not that I was handling a lot, but like considering what I was going through. And like, I thought, you know, I handled fucking having COVID and shit really well. I'm not on anyone's like, there's nobody at the moment worried about me. There's other times when I'm not doing well where, you know, family or friends are worried. It's like I'm not on anyone's fucking suicide watch, even mine. Like, I have not been feeling suicidal. I've been handling things. And this little voice was just like, if we just get up and kill ourselves right now, we could. No one's, and it was using the no one is going to stop you to point out that the rest of me was, I was not on suicide watch for myself. Like, there's times where I'm extremely suicidal and like I brace, the moment I wake up, I know I'm suicidal. I brace against that shit. Just this little voice pointed out that I've been handling everything so well that the suicide watch internally isn't up. No one would expect it. If I just got up and killed myself right now, we could get away with it. And the rest of my brain woke up and I just got up and the depression and suicidal feelings just sunk in really fucking deep. Like, brutally deep. And I realized that what's worse than being suicidally depressed is being suicidally depressed and completely fucking exhausted. Like, on every level, emotionally, physically, mentally. And that day was just brutal. I've had this voice in my head since then that has been pointing out it's fucking June now. I should feel good this time of year. The little voice in the back of my head since then keeps saying, if this is the rest of the fucking summer, and then it's just going to go into winter depression, we can't do that. Like, if there's not going to be a break where I can be happy for a little while, I am not going to survive this fucking year. But I controlled my thoughts and all that shit. I got through that day. And also all day, it's just the twist of the knife. There's somebody who's against me that is punishing me for doing the right thing. I know that can sound, everyone always thinks they're doing the right thing. This isn't like me and someone else had a disagreement on something. This is like everybody I know, except this person, all agree. Like therapists, fucking professionals, family. It's obvious that what the right thing that I'm supposed to be doing is. And someone's found a way to punish me hard for that. And the next day when I woke up, so here's the thing I've noticed, I've got the manic energy. I'm sleeping less and less as if it's this time of year, but especially that stress triggered it even further. So I woke up, and it's like normal this time of year, mania or hypomania or whatever. It's as you wake up earlier, you don't wake up exhausted. You wake up with energy. You wake up and fucking want to get out of bed, looking forward to a cup of coffee. This is fucking... Okay, the manic energy will not flow into anything positive. That second day after the really suicidal day, I don't remember them, but I think I was having stress dreams or even dreams about that specific person. I'm not sure. And when I woke up, fuck, I was furious. And so I see mania and depression kind of like as energies that can flow into different things. My experience, like mania can cause feelings of elation, joy, enthusiasm. It's like it can power those emotions. Mania can feel wonderful, but mania can also flow into anger, frustration, irritation, and make those really, really intense. And I had 2 days where the manic energy let loose inside me, yet mixed with just total fatigue, no fucking energy at all, like exhausted and depressed. And the manic energy let itself out as bitterness, resentful. I spent 2 days with just a storm inside me. And observing it mindfully, you can tear anyone apart. I spent 2 days like as if I had the most clever fucking demon in the world pointing out the shittiest things about everyone. Like everyone, not even like Like I could think of anyone, people I admire, just see them as complete pieces of shit. The existence is not meaning, or it's not worth being. Just played through me for 2 fucking days. And with no energy to put up, no energy to attempt to shift states, no mental energy to answer that shit. Like, so I didn't get caught up in it. I didn't attach to it. But fuck, I am worn the fuck out. I didn't connect to it. And I didn't have the energy to like, I didn't have the energy to counter it with the good in things. It's like I just had to let the horror show fucking play and not attach to it. I'm better now than I was for those few days. But it's like the fatigue has definitely just brought back intense fucking depression. And so I'm experiencing the mixed state of being emotionally depressed. And this fatigue from the COVID is a different flavor than the fatigue of depression. I don't know how to describe that difference. There's something different about this fatigue. And I seem to have the manic energy, like brakes and gas at the same time, except the manic energy doesn't flow into anything positive at all. And I'm worn right the fuck down. Like I don't feel like I can handle anything. The way just the small twist of a knife the other day caused all that. But the mania won't flow into anything positive. A couple good things have happened. There have been good moments. All I can achieve in those moments is that the depression gets mild enough, and there's like the recognition that, oh, this makes me happy. It's like as if, it's like this moment makes me happy, except there's no energy in the happy. It's empty and hollow. I reckon. Or it's not quite this should make me happy, and it's not that it does make. It's kind of like the thought, wow, this should make me happy. I should be feeling positive. But no energy will flow into any positive emotion. I can rarely and occasionally over the past fucking 3 months experience a mixed state of depression and a sort of empty, hollow happiness. But that's it. I'm starting to feel a need for that. No, you can only go so long without sleep. You can only go so long without food, without. Starting to feel like I can only go so much longer. Like I'm holding my breath and need to breathe in. I don't know how much longer I can go. If I can't get just a couple days of feeling good. Because up till lately, it seems like the deal with bipolar is you go through a lot of shit. You stick it out long enough. For me, it's been a long time now. It's been fucking 10 years that my cycle's been this 1 year cycle. And sure, the ratio's not in the favor of positivity. It's 2/3 down, 1/3 up, roughly. It's like up until now, the deal has been survive the fucking winter, no matter how bad it is, and you're gonna get at least some time that feels good during the year. And the fatigue left over from COVID seems to have robbed me of that. We're what, 2 weeks away? I got sick 2 days into spring. We're only 2 weeks away from the end of it. So far, all of spring has been brutal. And it's not getting better going into June. And now I'm having a wave of why the fuck am I doing this update stream? Which I'm aware the reason was that I know there's some people who wanted to know how I'm doing, but I do not feel why the fuck put this out into the world. I don't want to spread any negativity. All right, hey everyone. I'm going to take a look at what's in chat. Daniel asked what the painting behind me is. I forget the title of it, but it's by the artist Madame Talbot, and it's a plague doctor. So Levi says, tried to play video games or watch movies as a way of drowning out the world and not being alone with your own thoughts, immersing yourself into fiction. That's been helping me loads. In general, yeah, that helps. I don't have the fucking mental energy to play a video game. I am watching fiction. The most helpful thing for me. What I'm finding this time around, this leftover fatigue, that other fatigue mixed with the depression, shit that usually works is not working for me or not working as well. The one thing that's working the best for me is hanging out outside, like sitting in the sun and hanging out with the rodents that I'm friends with. But even that is not doing what it should do. Like, I have these amazing moments with the wildlife where it's like, wow, this should make me really happy. It doesn't. Like, and I'm working on the gratitude and appreciation and shit. I've been trying to, but nothing is working like it used to. Yeah, which is the next thing Daniel said. Stay hydrated and take baths of sunlight outside. Observe the beauty. Yeah, I'm doing all that. And I mean, not that it's not helping at all. It helps me get from extreme negative to closer to neutral. But I cannot experience anything up in the positive range. Hey, Sally. Sally says, love to you. I'm still so grateful to you for last year. If you do nothing else, it will always be so for me. I'll be grateful always, but I think you'll make it through this journey too. Yeah, I don't know if I took patrols and everything that I did other than, yeah, all the shit I did on the channel. Lately, I'm even wondering, fuck, this gotta be no way this is permanent. But yeah, lately one voice in the back of my head is wondering if this is a permanent fuck to my system. As long as I'm like this, I'll be useless for most of the shit I did last year. If I'm like this, I can maybe do the occasional live stream. But I found recently, as I looked back on last year, kind of like what I was saying about, is there any point in doing this live stream? I don't believe I've helped anyone. Now, on the other hand, I understand the facts are there to say that I did, but on an emotional, fuck, I don't think this is going to, I don't know how to make this make sense. But it doesn't feel like I've helped anyone. It doesn't feel like there was ever any point in doing this. I'm aware I'm all fucked up, so I'm not believing that feeling necessarily. But I don't have the strength to answer back to the dark shit. So I'm taking an agnostic position on most things, basically. It's different than before. I remember times where I'd get depressed and I'd feel like anyone, yet another part of me would be able to establish the position. No, clearly you are helping. So it's like I'd have the two positions present inside me. The way I am now, the way I've been for the past couple months, it's like that you never fucking helped anyone. It's all pointless, can make its case. The other side's worn out. It doesn't have any energy. It just goes, look, we know that guy doesn't think clearly. I can't make a fucking case. So let's just be agnostic on it. Who knows if you ever helped anyone or not? That's very much the way things are for me in general at the moment. Because I'm so fucking worn out. That the positive side of me is just trying to hold on to agnostic. And the dark shit's very eloquent. But if I did help, I'm in theory very glad about that. I do wish I could do more to help people. Hey, Mushroom Wobbit. Yeah, it's only the full moons that I do at midnight. Every full moon, I do it at the midnight closest to the actual full moon. Other than that, when I'm so inclined, I've randomly popped on at various times of. Minto says, be compassionate to others' faults. Yes, that's the stance I officially take. But the inner demons, the damaged parts of me, are trying to make me not do so. Okay, so Chris says, are you finding God in the midst? God told me recently to stop asking for the pain to stop and just endure it. Since I stopped asking, it's been helping. Same suffering, more peace. Yeah, that's my typical stance. I can feel God's presence. I get very similar, like when I pray for guidance and what the fuck I'm supposed to do. It's exactly that. I feel like I'm being told to endure it and, bear the burden as nobly as you can. Endure it. Don't let it corrupt you. Feels like my angel's telling me just to try to rest and heal. Fucking, I don't know, metaphorically. But for me, the light of God that I can connect to is very cold and dim. It's like with everything else, I can connect to God, but I don't get the feelings of. It's like with anything else, there's not any positive emotion. It just seems totally short-circuited in me. Hey, Programs 10. Let's see what. All right, this is frozen for me. Okay, it's working again. Okay, Programs 10 says, hi, Mark. I've read that some people with long-lasting after effects from COVID have gotten relief from the vaccine. Have you considered getting vaccinated as a possible treatment of long COVID? Might be a tough chance to take since the vaccine itself can cause a feeling of sickness for a few days. Might be worth it, though. It fixes the underlying problem. I had not heard anything about that. I honestly haven't really thought anything about getting vaccinated. I will try to remember to look into that or think about that. I'd never heard that before. Thank you very much, Sally. I appreciate the prayers. All right, so Levi says I'm not spreading negativity. I'm not being toxic. I'm just being reflective. Okay, good. Thank you very much, Interbeing Alchemist. I appreciate the love. I love you too. Chris says pain is real. It connects us, breaks individualism, and draws us together. Pain to turn us into who we're supposed to be. Fuck yeah, I know. I feel like I'm at the breaking point for the fucking pain. But I'm like, I don't know. I don't even have the strength to hope. Like the energy to put into it, but maybe I'm close to the point of God making use of me for a while and not at the point of the pain preparing me for it. This has gone on so long for me that it feels like this is going to go on forever. That sentence, it connects us, breaks individualism, and draws us together. It's another thing I'm struggling with is part of me has this urge to disconnect completely, like old school isolation. Because if you just got off that non-language thing and you get into a state where you're only good for interacting with nature and angels. It's like in that state, if you do have to talk to someone for a while, it's weird. It's like I can really disconnect and sort of, no interaction online, no fucking contact with anyone except getting just supplies dropped off. Part of me really wants to go back to that. Is like, we cannot handle being connected to the world. Go back into full fucking like total isolation mode. Let go of knowing what's going on in the world in the practical sense. Connect to the energies. Like get to know the spirit of the world, the soul of the world. Get to know what's going. Like just disconnect. Go sort of feral. I can't do that like I used to. I've got kids and I have to be there for. And that's not the kind of thing that you can like, oh, I'll be like that except for 2 days a week. To get like that really requires, it takes months of being alone where you're not seeing people, not talking to people. Like, it's fine to have someone dropping off supplies. You see someone once a week where it's not an interaction. You know what I mean? You don't have to be normal. You don't have to make conversations. Hey, yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, I'm okay. Then they go away. So it's not an option to disconnect entirely. But this connection to the world is draining. I saw Peterson and Brett Weinstein talking. I don't remember how long ago. And they were talking about how both of them went through a lot of shit. Like, had these really difficult periods. That they were only able to get through it because they had a strong family relationship, a good support system, strong marriage, things going well, like family and friends, like a strong support system to get through it. Then they talk on a bit about this, and this, and then Brett gets into something that I've heard him say more than once, how he loves to get outside of his bubble, that you need, some people just want, the idea of staying in your information bubble where you just want to talk to people who agree with you. And he said how, stagnant that gets, and how he loves to have, a community where you're being challenged by opposing ideas. And then Peterson brought up that perhaps the only reason he can do that is what they were saying earlier, that he's talking about how he likes to have a space with people who are challenging him and opposing him and all of that. But that perhaps the only reason he can do that or enjoys doing that is because, like, in his relationship with his wife, if you've seen Heather and Brett, like, they have very similar worldviews. They understand each other. The same thing for Peterson, him and Tammy. So Peterson made the point that if you're going to step out into those uncomfortable positions where you're being challenged, perhaps it's a prerequisite that you need to have those couple, that family unit or the close friends, those really, really close relationships with people who are totally inside your comfort zone, who are on your side, that, you can't just constantly be exposing yourself to challenging of beliefs. You need a place where you're, the idea of a person's home being their castle, my roof, my rules. And what I don't have now, like, my parents are excellent. I have a wonderful relationship with my parents. Like, they're on my side. They help me get through the practicalities of life. But they don't see the world the way I see the world at all. And I don't need that from that. But anyway, so I guess not like I'm saying I don't have family and I don't have support. I do have good family. I do have, like, good support. But I don't have that kind of close relationship like, Brett and Heather, or like Peterson and Tammy, or even just like that best friend who's somebody that is within the same, and not that, Tammy and Jordan or Heather and Brett have identical worldviews, but it's like you can have a kind of relationship where your worldviews are close enough that it's like, for me to interact with you, I don't have to step that far out of my frame. But then also the close relationship, even the parts of your Venn diagram that don't overlap, you get to know that, and then it becomes easy to, even the parts that are different from my experience, with someone else in a close relationship. It's like you know each other well enough that, but anyway, I have that part of me that wants to just go totally isolated. It's like there's a part in the other side that is like, well, no, we don't have to isolate ourselves. We just need some. But if we're going to interact with the world to the degree that we used to and be able to maintain it, we will have to have some sort of inner circle relationship with somebody. Like, yeah, that if I have to interact with people and be relating to people in other dimensions, like doing that mental energy, that I need someone to interact with that doesn't require that frame shift to recharge. That train of thought ended. Fuck, my brain is worn out from talking. I need a minute. I got to go get some water. And sorry, I don't know how far behind I am in chat. I'm going to try to respond to a couple things in chat when I get back. All right, I'm back. I'm going to read through the chat, but remind me after I scan chat if anyone's interested. I had thoughts on, I watched the Rebel Wisdom video. I forget the other guy's name. I forget both guys' names. But anyway, the Rebel Wisdom guy and someone else were talking about Jordan Petersonitis. I have some comments on that video if anyone's interested. But I want to look through chat and see what people have been saying while I was rambling. All right, so 2 more V's. Agrees with Levi that me talking about the things troubling me isn't spreading negativity. All right, good. Thank you very much, Interbeing Alchemist. I really appreciate that. Conservative Heathen says, can you physically make anything that will help your connection to nature? Do you live in a space that would allow for that? Oh, birdhouses, log piles, little furry guys, or fox. Yeah, I don't have to make anything. I live out in the middle of fucking nowhere. I live in an old farmhouse. I can't see anyone else's house from here. There's old birdhouses that my great aunt put up. It was my great grandfather that built this place. Only my family have ever lived here. I don't own it. Someone else bought the farm from my great aunt, but they're renting me. But anyway, there's falling down old barns that aren't in use, and I've got a wood shed. Most of the birdhouses have fallen apart and aren't being used, but there's plenty of birds around. And yeah, I've got chipmunks, two groundhogs, and there's a red squirrel this year. There's lots of rodents that hang around. Well, one like really beautiful moment I'll share, which again I could only feel a sort of hollow happiness at. But the one chipmunk was in my yard this year, Romeo, because like the animals are skittish with other people. And there haven't been other people. I won't get into any other details, but for the first time the other day, my 5-year-old daughter was able to pet Romeo, which she's wanted to touch a wild chipmunk since she was a baby. She's the reason I made friends with the chipmunks. And by her sitting in my lap, Romeo came over and let her pet him. She was thrilled about that. So yeah, I don't have to do any work to connect to nature here. I've got great wild friends. I'm very popular with rodents. And the birds hang out. They don't come super close. Like the closest, the bravest ones get will be like 5 feet away. Most of them stay 10 or 20 feet away. But the bird, but before I started feeding and hanging out there, the birds used to never land anywhere that close. They've adjusted to me enough. They'll eat at a distance, but they hang out in the yard. This fucking chat keeps freezing up. Thank you, Sally. I will tell the dark side it helped. Hello, Merrick from South Africa. What's it like in South Africa? I need to rest my brain for a minute. There's a bunch of questions and answers are not manifesting to them. And Tested is from Lithuania. Cool. We've got people from all around here. And Brian says, I have the ability to just think about whatever happens to cross your mind. You must be independently wealthy. No, I'm on disability. It's not quite independent, but I'm not dependent on an employer. I'm dependent on the state. But the state doesn't require anything from me for that except be insane. So basically, I'm professionally insane, and the government pays me to just take care of myself. That's far from wealthy, but if you live out in the middle of fucking nowhere, and especially living in Quebec helps, because Quebec's got the bullshit language laws and stuff. It's like I'm not far from the Ontario border. If you look at like prices, go onto the Quebec side of the border and it's cheaper, but life's cheaper out in the middle of fucking nowhere. So disability's not a lot of money, but you can live off of it. Chris says if you go back into isolation, you're going to be starting all over again. You don't see the progress you're making already. None of us see who we really are or what God is really doing. I'll agree with that mostly, except I think, okay, because of, yeah, I am getting signs that I'm not supposed to go back into isolation. Like the fact that I have kids means I can't do it. Whatever else God's got coming for me, like if, who knows, maybe I'll be one day more active than in the past on the channel again or whatever. But I don't think that's like universally true that would mean going back into isolation would be going backwards. I think that there's a valid spiritual path to going into isolation and pursuing your connection to God and nature. Like, I don't think some people talk about the guru going off into the mountain or whoever, going off for however many years, and then they talk about it like the value is when they come out and share it with other people. And while I agree that's a value, I don't think that's necessary. I do believe that you could, like the myth, whether it's true or not, of what happened to Mary Magdalene, being chased off and just going out into a cave and having birds bring her all her food and just having a relationship with Jesus and God, living out in the middle of nowhere. I think that's a valid life and a valid spiritual path, even without the coming back to teach other people. It's a rare one. I don't think that's suited to many people. But in theory, if there weren't whatever other things I'm supposed to do, I could imagine someone else, like especially they don't have kids, and you know what I mean? I could imagine someone else being in the same situation as me, but without certain things, and that for them it would be moving forward to go back into isolation again, whether it's just for a few years, or I can see value in going into isolation and spending the rest of your life that way, personally. And I could be totally wrong about that. But I think that's an uncommon life path, but valuable one. Grizz, oh yeah, that Jabba mug was so fucking chipped and shit. It was a beautiful mug, but they made it really shitty. I was careful with it. It started chipping and cracking from just nothing. But it was starting to chip like on the inside, and I didn't want to drink a flake of ceramic. So I had to throw out the Jabba the Hutt mug. And I found this really cheap online. I like to have one nice mug that I drink out of. So yes. Now I'm drinking out of Thanos' head instead of Jabba. Jabba did his service and moved on. Brian says, imagine if you had to wake up at 4 to be able to get ready for a low-paying, hard labor job like roofing or landscaping. Now, that's hard, especially if you have a family. Yeah, and before I went insane, I used to work. Probably the hardest job I ever worked was moving and furniture delivery in Toronto. But it was 6-day fucking weeks, and like it was as a contractor, so there weren't hours. There were times where I was having to be somewhere at fucking 5 a.m. loading up furniture, and where I would be working until, yeah, I've worked, or I did snow plowing. You'd work for like 20 hours, and then you get 4 hours off. Which, including drive and everything, you get like an hour sleep, and then you're up and you got to work for 18 hours, and then you get 2 hours off. And I have like a diploma in farming, also very hard work. So yeah, I know what it's like to work 60, 70-hour weeks at manual labor jobs. That is absolutely brutal. But if you're saying, imagine if you had to wake up at 4, like if I imagine the me now doing that, it's like, oh, okay, well, he'll have a breakdown. So put me in that situation, and in some reason I'm forced to do that. It's like I will either end up in a mental hospital or homeless. I'm just not capable of doing that. Sally says, it's not a luxury of independent wealth. It comes at heavy costs. Don't be jealous of the burdens you don't have. Which is a good point. But also, I think Brian makes a good point. Even though at the moment it's like empty and hollow, I do often, when I'm working on gratitude, that's one thing I work on being grateful for. Like, thank God the combination of living in Canada, and like I didn't even ask to be put on disability. After the second time I got locked up, the government was like, we are putting you on permanent disability. Stop trying to work. Stop. Because it's like it's much cheaper than replacing cop car windows and dealing with that. Like even that alone, I don't think I could handle life. My parents pick up like my parents and my sister live very close by. They just grab my supplies for me when they do their shopping. So that's one thing I do work on being very grateful for, that society provides me a disability check and that I have people who help me out with the other little things. And I do think exactly what Brian was just saying sometimes. I think back to the jobs I used to have to work, or even working any fucking job. I couldn't fucking do it if it wasn't for disability. Like, I'm very aware that if it wasn't for disability, the combination of disability, but much more so like early on, if I didn't have the family I have, like the parents I have, I would have ended up homeless. For sure. Like, so no, that's something I use to focus on gratitude. Like, hey, I might be suicidally depressed right now, but at least I have a house to be suicidally depressed in. There's running water, there's electricity. So I didn't take anything that Brian said the wrong way. But then Sally has a good point that if you're stuck in that life, but you're not fucking bipolar and suicidally depressed, you can work on the gratitude that, hey, maybe I've got a shitty job and a lot of stress, but at least I can handle it. Okay, so 2 more visas interested in that video. I forgot I'd said that. I'm going to rest my brain. I'm going to stop talking for a minute and just read whatever else is in chat. And then I will comment on that. Oh, fucking chat's frozen again. Hey, Scott. Oh, it's Asa. Yeah, I'm not sure. I'm really fucking struggling at the moment. If I can get just one night of a good night's sleep, I might be able to handle talking soon. Okay, I'm not going to try to predict myself. Yes, I definitely want to talk to you. Whenever I feel up to it, I will let you know. But yes, I want to help you with what you're going through. I just don't know when I will be able to. I can't predict that at all. I'm sorry about that. You retired at 36? Good for you. Kempshaw says, do I have any idols or people I aspire to a lot? No, I have people I admire, but I don't aspire to be like them. I guess like the closest, although it's not an idol, it's like close would be there are certain people I really admire. I really admire Alan Moore, Alan Watts, Tom Waits, Lemmy, Peterson, Sam Harris, Manly P. Hall, Socrates. But no, it's not idols. There's nobody I wish I was like. Okay, I got you, Chris. Hey, Taro. You did moving in Toronto too? Yeah, that's a brutal job. Were you driving or I was driving. I drove the truck. Or were you just one of the movers? Fuck driving. I just had a cube van, not a huge truck. Driving a cube van in Toronto traffic wasn't fun. Oh, you can pick up the music? I was hoping it was quiet enough. It's Tom Waits, the album Blue Valentine. Minto says, I'm a smoker and I ask myself how much about my physical and mental health. It's like putting two fingers up to the reaper. I don't see it that way personally. I'm reluctant to, there's a reaction of being reluctant to even say anything but I mean, I'm not trying to tell anyone else how to look at anything. I'm not arguing even that I'm right, but personally, I expect that smoker's guilt is worse for you than smoking. I don't look at my cigarettes as a vice, personally. I look at my cigarettes as a part of my medication. So first of all, I don't, and everyone's different. Like some people can't fucking eat gluten and some people sunburn easy. And like, I'm not saying this is universal, but my gut feeling about myself is those certain people you see that smoke till they're 102. I think even at one point they'd found there's a gene that determines whether you even get cancer from smoking or not. But personally, with the power of our mind over our bodies, with both the placebo effect and the nocebo effect. And so I'm not saying that smoking doesn't can't be bad for certain people, especially if you have the right gene, the blah, blah, blah. Some people might be sensitive to it. But I have the feeling that for other people, the effects aren't as bad just on a biological level. But then there's also the placebo and nocebo effect. Something can make you sick or well, just if you believe in it. But to me, it's like all fucking drugs have some sort of side effects. Some things are trade-offs and whatnot. I don't feel like smoking will shorten my life. And I have a great relationship with the Reaper. Like I have a loving relationship with death. Death's a positive thing. It's, but for me, and like, look at other things. Like they tried to put me on lithium a bunch of times. And the only reason I refused to take lithium, like flat out, that was one drug I wouldn't take. I've tried a bunch of psychiatric drugs. The lithium I wouldn't take because you had to go for blood work every 3 months. And I don't like leaving my fucking house. And I'm phobic of like hospitals. I've been locked up in them. So for that reason alone, I wouldn't take it. But I did like, one psychiatrist was pushing it, so I did more research. And it's like, if you find someone who's 50 and they've been taking lithium to deal with their bipolar, they're taking 37 other fucking medications to deal with the side effects and then side effects of side effects. We have no problem prescribing lithium to somebody, or other various drugs that guaranteed fucking shorten your life and like used long term cause all sorts of fucking problems. But it's like society wants everything to be black and white. So it's like smoking's good or bad. There can't be nuance. So I have found that certain pro-smoking things get suppressed. But you will find that there's, type 1 bipolar and schizophrenics are far more likely to chain smoke. And it's a neurochemical. And like, so for me, this is a plant medicine for me. I'm not saying it doesn't have any effect on my health, but that's better than the effect on my health if I didn't smoke, and my system was out of balance. And even if I'm wrong on that, just for me personally, that's the way I'm looking at it. And so hopefully, like if you're looking at it even just from the most logical point of view, I'm eliminating any possibility of a nocebo effect, and possibly I'm getting a placebo effect of health. So smoking's not a fucking guilt for me. You were just one of the movers. I worked with this one guy. He was a mover. He took the job because he weighed 350 pounds and couldn't lose weight. And so he got a job as a mover, so he would be forced to exercise all day. And like the owner of the company was cool because he was apparently, at the point that I was working with him, he was like 2-something. He'd already lost over 100 pounds. And he was decent. He wasn't like a great helper, but he could move fast enough. But like talking to the boss at first, he was really fucking slow. But he told the company, like, look, I won't be able to do this well at first, and was even just honest. He was like, I can't lose weight. I've got to. So he took that job, and that actually worked for him. I thought that was neat. And so, because a lot of helpers, well, if they're young guys, they don't mind doing it for a while. For a couple months, it's fun. We drive around, fucking. But then they'll get wary of it. And most of the long-termers are very worn out by that job. But that guy just fucking loved that job because it was the one thing that had allowed him to lose weight. Oh, Brian, sorry to hear that your service left you fucking your body wrecked. Shit, I'm sorry to hear that, man. Fuck, life can be hard. I'll share this because I'm observing it. I haven't done many live streams over the past couple months. I've done just a couple. But I've noticed that after a while, I start feeling I can feel an energy of the people who were sending the love and the prayers and whatnot. Like, I think for the past, like that one, at the couple points where I was talking, my mind had more energy than I've had. I can like feel the energy of that shit. And so I'm sending some of that. I don't know if you believe in that or not. But I'm trying to share that with you, Brian. Oh, and you're saying you've been aware of me ever since I pulled that prank on Peterson. It was hilarious. No, that wasn't me. I'm just a different bald Canadian guy. That was, yeah, no, he's talking about the videos Andrew did, like the cocaine Jordan Peterson and that's all still up there. The ones marked legacy video, Peterson clips marked legacy video, are the ones Andrew did. Andrew's the one who started the channel. I just am also bald and Canadian. And so some people think that was me, but that was not me. Andrew did the channel for like 2 years and then decided not to do it anymore. And then he gave the channel to me and Ryan Holsapple, and we ran it together for over a year. And then he stopped doing it because he had other things he had to work on. And so the channel's been just me for almost a year now. But yeah, the fucking Andrew's Roughly Speaking video and the Jordan Peterson on cocaine video are hilarious. But I couldn't make them. I don't know how to edit a video. I can barely use my computer. The only thing I can do is live stream. So Kempshaw says, has Peterson inspired you to change in any significant way? Okay, and I'll try to veer from that into, because I was going to comment on that one video, if I have the mental energy. Okay. No, I'm not one of those people that like, Peterson changed my life. He showed me these things and, sorry, Peterson's changed my life, but not in the way of inspiring me. It's at the point that I came across Peterson, and it was before the Kathy Newman, it's before he was big. I came across Peterson because I was just looking up depth psychology or Carl Jung. And that was the first Peterson video I came across. It was a really old one that's just a lecture on depth psychology and Carl Jung. And I just found Peterson really interesting. And then as the more I listened to Peterson, and I didn't, because at the point that I encountered Peterson, I was on a much stricter diet for media. I didn't watch any news whatsoever. I was very, very careful about what fiction I took in, but also about what I researched. I was listening to shit like Alan Watts, like psychology. And so I became aware, like I loved the Peterson's One Thing, and then I started watching his Maps of Meaning. And then I went to watch some interview, and they start talking about controversy. And so I was just, nope, shit. I just stopped the video because it's like I had been for years on a diet of, and I wasn't using any social media at all. Like I watched stuff on YouTube, but I didn't consider it social media because I didn't comment. I didn't subscribe to shit. But I was very careful about what I took in. And so I was aware that Peterson was involved in some sort of controversy. And so because of that, I wouldn't watch any of his interviews for the first few months that after I discovered Peterson. I just watched his Maps of Meaning and his Introduction to Personality or whatever, or like the TVO shit he did. And it's like Peterson's Sort Yourself Out stuff didn't teach, like, it's his dedication to honesty, his you've got to aim at the star, all of that stuff. It's like those were things I was practicing in a more mystical way. Like to me, it's this magical principle of being always honest because of the way I believe magical energies work, and that's, you know, so I had discovered myself some of the things Peterson, some of his base things, but then he had all this cool detail and took it from this real world, based on fact and psychology and all of that. So I became fascinated with him because he had very similar ideas to me, but then he had such different, like a way of explaining it that I just found him fascinating. But I was already fully aware of all of those principles. So it's like he didn't inspire me to change in any way. I just found him interesting. And like he did help me, like it was helpful to hear because he has things to say about why it's so important to always tell the truth. That no, I hadn't thought of it that way. So I didn't know those details, but I did already know, I think you get what I mean. However, Peterson obviously dramatically affected my life because Peterson's the reason Andrew started this channel. Peterson's the reason I came across Andrew's channel. Then me and Andrew became friends, blah, blah. It led to all of this. So the same way that I saw Jonathan Pajot talking when he was asked about why he got into YouTube. And he's like, well, I really didn't mean to. It was just the Jordan Peterson thing pulled him into it. So because I took an interest in Peterson and then found out that Andrew liked both Peterson and Alan Moore, because I love Alan Moore, that's part of the reason I reached out to Andrew, and then we became friends. And because of that, I've got sucked into all this. So Peterson's had a huge fucking effect on my life. But he was never like an inspiration to, ooh, I'm going to pull myself together, because Peterson says it's a world, the whole world relies on each individual pulling themselves together. The reason I was working with my whole fucking being to pull myself together is because I went so fucking crazy that I wouldn't survive if I didn't take pulling myself together that seriously. Did that make sense? Nerdy Bird says, details suggest I'm intentionally being ignored. No problem. Okay. Sorry if you've written things I haven't responded to. My brain's in a weird state. I read some things and it's just, I can't think of a response. And so I don't say anything. So to anyone that I am actually reading everything, and I don't remember now. Yeah, but that's the other thing is once I get talking about something, I lose what I was thinking earlier. So I did read the whole chat. I remember you were saying shit, and I don't remember even if I responded or not. Or wait, is that directed at Brian? But anyway, even if I'm now misunderstanding what's going on, I forget what I read before because my brain's really worn out. And talking about Peterson kind of wiped my mind of everything earlier. And I don't know if I explained earlier, my brain's tired. Some things that I read, it's like just no verbal response comes up. And so rather than freezing at those points, I was moving on to things that got me talking. Yeah, Kempshaw, you explained a lot of things that I already knew, but not only more detail from a totally different angle. The same way that you can look at Peterson and Sam Harris, because Sam Harris is another one I love. But he didn't teach me anything about telling the truth. Yet his book, I think it's called On Lying or whatever, I listened to the audio of it. I loved the book. I already totally knew that I think the first commandment should be not to lie, or the second maybe after love. Anyway, but if you look at Sam and Peterson, they've each got these totally different angles at why it's so important not to lie. I feel I came in at a different angle than either of them. So that's why I enjoy both of them so much. It's just fun to see it from... brain froze up. I haven't heard of Crowbar. What kind of music are they? And yes, Kempshaw. It is a pleasant feeling when there's something, like with the truth thing, it's not that. I was deep. I had deep reasons myself. But yeah, it's a great feeling when there's something that there's this truth that you're just discovering and you can feel it intuitively and everything, but you can't explain it at all. Then it can be a huge relief to hear somebody explain it. And Minto says, I've also heard Peterson's whole page being condensed into one line by critics. One thing that Peterson taught me a lot about, it just didn't influence my life really, is I had gotten the gut feeling of my own. Somewhere where it was more gut, I hadn't thought it through so much. But I had realized once I started doing more self-work, I discovered that whole confirmation bias thing. It was before I'd ever looked any of this shit up. But what Jonathan Haidt is very good about getting into. I observed that in myself when I was doing mindfulness and when I was really isolated. I was like, holy shit, when I'm researching something or when I'm taking in information, if it's something I want to believe for some emotional reason, I will look for the reasons to believe it. And I observed if I don't want to believe something, my brain is my eye is already scanning the page and my subconscious is drawing me to the info that will allow me to dismiss it. I'd observed that myself very, very deeply. And so on observing that, then I was like, holy shit. All these values that I have that were very leftist, like the anarchist punk sort of. And I realized that I looked down on that conservative type, and I realized that whole holy shit, these divides of left and right, both sides are so fucking biased. The truth is bigger than either. And that I realized there's got to be a lot of fucking value in certain kinds of people that I was dismissing. And so It's like naturally, I'm very, very inclined to the left. Peterson, and I don't even consider Peterson, like some people call him conservative. I don't think he's right wing. He'll even say that he's not. It's just he will put up. People question him from the left, so he puts up the right's defense. But I think he understands. Yeah, or not. I think like he understands both sides, and it's like this conflict of left and right fighting each other of who should be in charge. And it's like they're both trying to convert the world into all left or all right. It's just bullshit. And the idea of calling it left and right wing makes it obvious. Like these are two things that are supposed to be working together because both sides are so fucking limited that they need, like, they're both only seeing half. So I realized that I was emotionally, like, and even subconsciously dismissing a lot of like conservative values. Like, for instance, I don't naturally have that inborn respect. Like when I examine myself deeply in meditation, my inner conscience doesn't react to respecting authority. Like it doesn't see that as a value. So I devalued anyone who had that respect for authority and considering it a virtue. I realized, like, on my own that I was being judgmental and biased of like people on the right or conservatives. I understood that on the gut level and had sort of vague ideas about that. But that's one thing where, and Peterson says lots of things that, like, I don't like the idea. I'm naturally polarized against it. But if I'm going to listen to an explanation of the conservative end of something, I like the way Peterson puts it. And he did teach me more ways to understand the benefits of the right wing. Whereas, because my natural intuition is to understand the benefits of like left wing thinking. So that's one thing. Hey, Gloff, good to see you. Yeah, so Kempshaw says Peterson's kind of in the middle, I think. Yeah, I would even say it's not even quite that he's in the middle. He's off that political divide. He's not in the political realm even. Like psychology and religion should be on a different level than politics. You say he criticizes the left more because they're clearly the dominant force. The conservatives are on the decline. Now, for that, I'm agnostic on. I don't know who's dominant or who's not because we get filtered reality. So I have no idea what's the more dominant force, left or right in society in general, because I'm aware of the combination of mystical, psychological, and algorithm reasons. There's no reason I should think I know what's going on in the world. But with Peterson, I think the bigger thing, because I've watched a lot of his story, I think the bigger reason he is criticizing the left more is because the left is fucking actively attacking him. Like he had so many protests, or like the left came at him very fucking hard. So of course he's going to have to be putting up the conservative side of it. On the other hand, if he had been being attacked by conservative groups for the stuff that he has that doesn't align with them, I'm sure so I think it's more about the actual, like, the left invaded his personal life. So it's like, I don't know if they've invaded Toronto, for instance. I haven't been to Toronto in so long. I don't know what's going on generally in Toronto. Maybe more people are harassed by people on the right in general. I don't know about the overall, but clearly Peterson started getting attacked by the left. Glove says the left are progressing, but they don't know towards what. Yeah, but none of us ever know what we're progressing towards. The right doesn't know what it's progressing towards. I didn't know I was progressing towards this. You know, God laughing while we make plans and such. My brain is worn out. I'm not sure how much I have left in me. Oh, right. I did say I was going to give feedback on that one video, though. Cool. I will check that out, Brian. Kempshaw says the left is progressing towards equality in every sense. The other thing with that whole me saying I don't know what's going on in the world in general, I also don't care. I have no interest in politics whatsoever. Like, I care about each individual person in the world. But the arena of society is not my business. Like when the time I talked to Pajot and he talked about how people don't like to hear learn your place. But it's better to know your place. And then I also saw his comment on the Mandalorian. And he was pointing out like what the Mandalorian got right. So I know my place. I'm on the fringe. I'm a dog-headed man. I have no place in the center. Well, sorry, there's a way I can interact with the center. But for me, getting involved in what society is doing is not my business at all. And so what he said he liked about, because Pajot has his criticism of the monster being too pushed, of the edge, that we're trying to make that everything, that we're trying to remove categories completely because some of us freaks don't fit nicely in. And he said that the Mandalorian, which I haven't seen all of, I've just seen a bit, but his point is that the Mandalorian is, and at least I've observed, I've only watched a few episodes, but I do see in the episodes that I've seen, it's a story about the fringe. It doesn't have anything to do with like what's going to happen with the Empire. The fate of the galaxy isn't at stake. It's about, one faceless man. So, one outsider, in the fringes of the universe, way far away from the center, doing the kinds of things that fringe dwellers do. Escorting the child, the St. Christopher. It's the monsters at the edge of the world are supposed to escort travelers and protect against bigger monsters further on. We tend the chaos at the edge of the world. Or like in Alan Moore's Jerusalem, where the Vernal family, the insane people, there's corners that they need to guard. The dimensions to the other realms, it's whatever the herd does is like up to them. I don't feel it's my place to be involved at all. Okay, right. Are you still here, Two More V's? Because you were the one who wanted to hear what I thought of the Petersonitis video. Has anyone here seen Rebel Wisdom just put out a video? I forget the name of the guy he was talking to, but it was called like Jordan Petersonitis. Kempshaw says, Peterson advises us to fix ourselves before we start worrying about politics, though. I get this perspective. But with politics, it's also true, I think, that we will be affected by it anyway. So we kind of should pay some attention to it. Yeah, when I talk about the way I'm not promoting that. Like, again, because I don't feel it's my place to be telling. I am a very, very... I'm a fucking fringe dweller. I'm an unusual case. I'm just talking about my reaction. It's not even my business to say what the average person should do. So I feel like I shouldn't even have an opinion on whether or not anyone else should pay some attention to it. But that's not the route I take. Again, I get I'm affected by it. And like, I believe we're in the apocalypse. We could be moving into a golden age. We could be like, those are real now. It's like, I don't doubt that even as stable as Canada is, in 20 years, whatever couldn't happen and they start rounding up people into a gulag. Well, the concentration camps would take me along with the Jews. I could, but it's like, if the world's going to any of those disasters or whatnot, that's not my business. It's my business to prepare myself of how to get through that. It's like, if death camps are coming, I don't see myself in that story. Like, my goal is to be the person who warns everyone and stops it ahead of time. If I do my spiritual path right, I'm not the person to stop the death camps. I'm the person to be that admirable person within the death camp that suffers through it bravely. I'm willing to take the collective karma of the world. If we set off the nukes, I'm willing to take that radiation and die with everyone. If the government fucking changes so much, and like, yeah, I rely on the government. If the laws were to change and I didn't have my disability check anymore, I would suffer for not having gotten involved. But I don't see my place to get involved and to help steer that ship. It's not where I live. It'll be my place to help perhaps other people deal with whatever it is that's the negative consequence. It's just I have a different role. So I will comment on that video. Okay, wait, but I'm going to respond to Brian first before I get into the video response. So Brian says, hey, I just wanted to tell you this is the first time I've communicated with someone outside of my shrink and some family members. It's really cool. Thanks for being here. All right. Thank you for being here. Thank you for telling me that, because if I could feel happy, it's like, that should make me very happy, or it gives me that hollow sort. But that's the only reason I'm still doing this shit at all, is because of people like you. And I mean, it helps Sally for different reasons. I'm just doing this to help people. I never wanted to be a YouTuber. So thanks for that. And we have a Discord. I didn't put it in the description, and it's not very active because I'm not active on there. But we do have a Discord that people talk a bit. And I don't know how active I'm going to be at the channel. I have no idea at all. Like, at this point, anything could happen. As much as part of me is worried that I'm permanently broken from COVID, another part of me is very aware that I could get a couple nights good sleep. And I think some people with long-term COVID get over it, right? Or long haul, or whatever they call it. It's like, I could snap out of this at any point. Life could start sending me fewer disasters. It's, God doesn't fucking treat Job like Job the whole way through. We don't hear the description at the end, but I could step into it. But anyway, my point was, I used to and might, or will again if I'm able to. We used to do what we were calling them Lunatic Patrol. Zoom meetings, so like where we'd get together, watch something, talk, blah blah blah. It doesn't get posted anywhere. It's like just hanging out as a group and talking. So like, if you've enjoyed this, that was much better. We'd usually have average around 10 people, sometimes just be 5 or 6. But anyway, if you're getting something out of this kind of interaction, and we have lots of people in the community who've been in this exact, or not the exact, but that same thing of saying, I've never talked to anyone else about this. That's what a lot of the deeper communities built around. So if you look at the description of any of the other videos, there's a link for our Discord. I have no idea what to do with Israel, obviously. Mintos with everything I was saying before. Kempshaw says, it's always cool with people who share their opinions truthfully. The less common you are, the more valuable. Thank you. I appreciate, and thanks to everyone, like comments on videos, messages that I haven't been responding to, like keeping up with. I do appreciate the support. I really appreciate the sending love and prayers, and I really love hearing when people say the community's helped them. I like hearing that things are going better for people, or that it's easier, or making them feel less alone or something. Oh, 2 more V's, put up our Discord link. So anyway, I'll give you, and this will be shorter than it would have been if I'd brought it up earlier, because my brain's getting very worn out from talking this much. But I watched the Jordan Petersonitis video that Rebel Wisdom put out a day ago or something. And I found strange about it, like the whole atmosphere of the video. I'll admit I didn't like see much of it. I was sitting outside listening to it through the window, and so I also missed a few parts. Like didn't hear it clearly. But the overall atmosphere of the video was like as if the Rebel Wisdom guy and his guest, which I'm forgetting both of their names, are criticizing Peterson. And they talk about this Petersonitis. Fuck yeah, I'm so tired. So rather than trying to even say, you know, they made this point, this point, this point, I think one thing that was said at one point that can encapsulate my point on it overall is at one point, one of them says, Peterson is necessary, but not sufficient. And they go on to talk about these reasons Peterson isn't sufficient. And I thought, the video like and looks like they're criticizing Peterson, like as if they're explaining his inadequacies and why he's not sufficient. But to me, the entire video sounded like them putting him on a ridiculous pedestal. Like even just the statement, Jordan Peterson is necessary, but not sufficient. It's like, yeah, my brain's worn out, so I can't think of a more eloquent way to put that. But other than that's the most fanboy idolizing criticism I've ever heard. Like, first of all, who the fuck is sufficient? Because they're talking about like for culture, like to the direction the world could go. They're talking about all these reasons, like these things Peterson's missing, and he's not addressing this, and he's not addressing this. He's necessary, but he's not sufficient. It's like, what the fuck would be sufficient? Like, I personally have not found anyone, or even any, not even just not any ideology, not even one religion. There's not one thing that I would say, oh, that's sufficient. That's all we need. And then even to say Jordan Peterson's necessary, but not sufficient. I'm like, really? He's necessary? I would say Jordan Peterson's beneficial. But what the fuck is this Jordan Peterson's necessary? I mean, he's necessary. We want to like take it to a different level. And cosmically, yes, he's necessary. Everyone's necessary. Everything's infinitely precious and interconnected and matters beyond. But they're not talking at that level. They're talking about, yeah, but just, fuck yeah, and I'm worn out. But if you watch it, 2 more V's, like look at it that way. It's like, why on earth are you holding not just Jordan Peterson? Why on earth are you holding anyone to that standard? And I mean, to say someone's necessary but not sufficient, that's a ridiculous concept. They're saying Jordan Peterson's necessary. Surely humanity would have survived I mean, yeah, maybe there wouldn't be Rebel Wisdom because it started because of Jordan Peterson. I certainly wouldn't be doing this, but I don't think me and Rebel Wisdom are necessary. I don't understand why anyone puts that onto anyone at all. And like the kinds of criticisms they were giving, it's like Jordan Peterson's a psychologist. It's like, what on earth are you comparing him to when you're making these criticisms? What the fuck do you expect of people? Not only can you do that to absolutely anyone, you can do that to fucking Socrates or like nobody's sufficient unto themselves. Everyone's missing shit. It's like, how about we compare him to the average person? The average person barely but yeah, why are we, the way they're talking about Peterson, why do we talk about anybody like that? The only thing that's sufficient is absolutely everything. The Godhead, source, the all, God, whatever you want to call it. In my conception, it is everything. There's nothing that's not that. That in its totality is sufficient. And yes, cosmically, we're all necessary, but not on that level they're talking about. Yeah, maybe we should wrap this up, Kenshaw. Yeah, exactly. And so, if anyone does watch the Rebel Wisdom video, I even forget what I just said it was called. Oh, Petersonitis. It's like, watch it with that tone of, aren't you putting him on a ridiculous pedestal and talking about him like he's some sort of member of a pantheon of gods? Why are you criticizing him like this? Whereas they seem to be in the center, and I'm not criticizing the people. We all fucking respond to things in weird ways. But I just found that so funny that they seem to be presenting this. Yeah. You're very welcome here, Brian. Interbeing Alchemist says, you've helped many people, Merc. I don't think you even recognize the impact you've had on the world. No, I'm aware I really don't. Because like I've examined in mindfulness, even like in this low state I've been in, even if I, take that step back, detach from it, try to just logically access memories of facts of people telling me they've helped me. It's like, that doesn't feel true to me right now. My system is so fucking worn out that I have trouble understanding how I've helped anyone, even with it being said. Which was why earlier I was saying I really appreciate that kind of feedback, because it doesn't sink in very easily. Okay, so 2 more V's is saying I could imagine them criticizing him in that way because they put more hope and expectations into him than was appropriate, understandably. With what he started, it's easy to mistake his role for Christ's role. If you're moving more in the secular world, living, yeah. Yeah, I agree. A lot of people put Peterson on a pedestal. On the other hand, there's an upside to that too, because if it wasn't for the people who were doing that to Peterson, it's like that generates an energy, the emotional build. And so, and I don't know if it's faded or if I'm just not plugged into the world enough to see it, but it seems like the effect that he was having on people isn't as strong. But like that early on when he first blew up, Peterson really, really motivated a lot of people to sort themselves out. And that's the thing that he was doing that is what I feel like I still like, to the degree that it was the channel still Petersonian at all, is I liked seeing that Peterson was motivating, especially he seemed to motivate a lot of people really at the bottom. And that energy that he built up got people wanting to improve themselves. And it was so much energy that it got, Rebel Wisdom going and Paul Vanderklay and everything. And I could see that tons of people were motivated by that energy and that there weren't enough people that they could do the interaction with. That's why I saw early on that when the IDW happened, I immediately saw that there would be the desire for an amateur dark web, that people would want this kind of. So to the degree that that's okay. One way Peterson, I guess, influenced me is because he built that energy, and I liked seeing that a bunch of individuals were trying to pull themselves together, and that Andrew had this place where we could like participate at the amateur level so people could interact. It was like I wanted to support that energy. And that energy wouldn't have been there if some people hadn't been idolizing him. It's like the side effect of that. So there's upsides and downsides to everything. But the people who overly idolized Peterson added energy to the movement. And Jennifer's asking, that's the second person today asking about the painting. It's by the artist Madame Talbot. She's cool. She did the Enigmas, that freak, the Enigma. She did his first outline of all the puzzle pieces. So it's by that artist. It's Plague Doctor. How you doing today, Jennifer? Yeah, God bless, Marvin. I'm glad you made it. Yeah, that's a good point, Kemshaw. What Peterson is on to is among the deepest, most important problems of humanity, I suppose you could say. This is why we elevate him so much. The religious question is super big. Yeah, or Peterson says himself, it's because he talks about archetypal truths, like he digs right down to the archetypes. He talks about super powerful things, so people sense the power of those things and attach it to them. Like, for instance, the statement I was criticizing of Jordan Peterson is necessary but not sufficient. I think that statement's kind of ridiculous. Like, not to be insulting. I guess it kind of sounds insult. But anyway, that statement's ridiculous. However, to say some of the things Jordan Peterson talks about are necessary but not sufficient. Yeah, right on. Like his shit about truth, his shit about, aim at the good, like there's certain things he says, yeah, those are necessary. So if you connect those to Peterson, it can be. So yeah, he says himself, it's the power of the archetypes. Sorry you hadn't tuned in earlier, Jennifer, because you're asking how I'm doing. That's what a lot of this stream was about, and I'm kind of worn out now. So recap, I'm still really struggling at the moment. I was about to wrap this up, so I don't have it in me to reiterate anything for you. But the beginning of the stream starts with an update on my recent difficulties. Yeah, Madame Talbot's a good artist. I have a couple prints of her work. Yes, it actually made it to 2 hours. You are very welcome, Jennifer. Well, how are you doing? Other than like things I've already said, I don't need to hang up immediately. How are you doing? If you have a question or something you want to talk about for a minute that isn't recapping how I'm doing. I don't see anything new from you. So either you're typing or you said I'm going to start at the beginning and you already did. Oh, no, wait, there's. I am glad to hear you're doing well. The only problem is over drinking. Well, that is much better than over drinking at times and a pile of other problems. I'm glad you're doing well other than that. Yeah, Brian. Schizophrenics, like the type 1 bipolar as well, will really chain smoke cigarettes. And yeah, I find it helps my, I don't know how to describe it. It's like it lubricates the system, like the nervous system. It makes it easier for me to be plugged into the body. My soul feels less comfortable in my body without that. Hello, Rocks. You're going to roll a joint. What does that say about you? That you like plant medicine. And I'm guessing it also means you roll joints one at a time, which isn't what I do. I roll a bunch, it's enough for a day or two, and stick them in a tin. Oh, you're type 1 bipolar since you're 18. Yeah, that's more common from what I understand, if I'm remembering right, for it to develop earlier. For me, it didn't develop till I was it 26 or 27? And for me, it appears to have, I got hit by a bus crossing the street, which triggered it. So how old are you now, Jennifer? Like, how long have you been type 1 bipolar? Yeah, Rocks. I don't enjoy. Oh, you're 50 now. Okay, so you've been riding this cycle for a long time. Yeah, the reason I roll a bunch at once is that I don't enjoy rolling. Well, good for you for surviving 32 years of it. Yeah, at this point, I am wanting to wrap this up, and I'm just continuing out of inertia. Oh, you knew someone who had a stroke and then became bipolar. M. Taylor says, are you getting any action in the bed besides yourself? Nope. Are you? I'm pretty much a hermit. And I'm divorced. Sorry. You're saying your worst times were when you were young. After 25 or 26, I was a lot better for some reason. Do you know what the reason is? Like, if you look back on that, because for me as well, the beginning was the worst. So at about 25, it got a lot better, 18. So after about 7 years, it improved for you. I'm not sure if, yeah, I don't know if this is true or not, but I've heard that like type 1 bipolar actually, like untreated, treatment aside, it gets worse over time. From my understanding, that that's more common than people saying, oh, it just got better. So did it just, like, are you one of the rare ones, or was I misinformed? Did you just get better, or was it that you learned how to deal with it differently? When you look back on it, was there anything you did that you can share with the community, because we have a fair number of bipolar people, that made a difference? Because I talked to some people who it gets worse. And for me, it got better, I think. And in fact, you know, these past couple years, I've thought, like, my bipolar might be getting slightly worse. It's just that I handle it well. So mine got better when I learned mindfulness, learned, how to deal with it differently. It was all these changes I made, like, improve the outcome of my bipolar. But I find that the energies aren't less intense. It's the way I live with it, manages it, and makes it better. So you added antidepressants to the mix at that point? And so have you been on antidepressants? Like, are you still on them? Or did you take them for a while, it helped? Or is it that you just found the right mix of meds? Because for me, I'm not on any psych meds. I use plant medicines, and I have a prescription for sleeping pills. That's the only pharmaceutical I take, which I don't use all the time. Just if I'm definitely, like, if I'm not getting enough sleep, I use them occasionally. They're like irresponsibly, because they're habit forming. And yeah, rocks, hermit life is peaceful. I couldn't live in a city. Living out in the middle of nowhere is another medication I need. It's like the peace and the nature out here. And like, either I'm delusionally psychic and pick up on energies, like either that's a delusion, whether it's a delusion or real, phenomenologically. It seems I'm attached to energies and get psychic phenomenon shit. It's like I need the energy and the quiet out here. I couldn't survive in a city anymore. So Jennifer followed up with, like, my problems that I had suppressed and all the stuff from my childhood had to resurface somehow and express itself and then burn itself out. And yes, still on antidepressants. Yeah, and I'm not anti-meds. Like, to me, psychiatric meds help you, great. If they don't help you, like, I wish you the best. Like, I don't have a position on that. Just for me, I forget what the percentage is, but there's whatever percent of bipolar type 1 that do not respond to medication. Something like 20. Why even guess? Who cares? There's a percentage. I appear to be in that. I've tried antidepressants and mood stabilizers, and they've obviously had to put antipsychotics in me when I completely lost it. That shit, everything caused side effects. Nothing fucking. M isn't getting anything in bed either. Yeah, I completely agree, Rox. Jennifer says most bipolar people, in my opinion, are more in touch with their psychic abilities, more so than the average population. Yeah, and I don't take like an official position on that, but because I have an inner sort of atheist, or maybe, really it's more agnostic. I have a subpersonality that uses the medical model to examine me, but I also have a whole bunch of mystic and whatnot. So it's like I don't commit to any one model. I look at everything from as many points of view as I can and try to be holistic and gestalt about it. System, I've got another frame that looks at it like bipolar people are just the like the shamans of the group, and it's just you need the right training, that rather than being a mental illness, it's like a dangerous gift. Like the mutants in Marvel being like a good metaphor. It's something that could be a superpower or could destroy you. That it's something that you just need the right training of how to use, and that your purpose is sort of shamanic. Like whether that's, and in the modern world, like that can be done through, spiritual art, I consider what I do here shamanic work. That is the way I frame it. Although I also have a sub-personality that looks at it all. And I don't care how other people see it. I don't care if someone else thinks my angel is real or thinks my angel is a delusion. That's, yeah. Hey, Nolan. I'm trying to wrap this up, and I'm just stuck with inertia. I have just kind of been doing it because I've already been doing it and keep responding. I've been trying to wrap this up. But it's good to see you. I hope you're doing well. So M says you need to find another bad habit and replace that smoking. Well, I talked about that earlier. I don't consider smoking a bad habit for me. It's fine if other people define it as bad for them. I don't like promote smoking. I don't see it that way for myself. Even if I could get nicotine from another form, I love smoking. And for me, it even goes to being a spiritual thing. Combine the elements, earth, air, water, and fire in the process. You really see the way you're tied to nature. You can see where your breath goes. So I personally, although I'll support anyone else in quitting smoking, I personally don't even consider it bad. So I don't mind satisfying my oral fixation that way. Well, I'm glad you finally found something that works for you, Jennifer. Yes, Kempshaw. I keep trying to wrap it up. And not just do new people appear, there's also just the inertia. I'm sitting here doing this. What I'm going to do when I turn it off, I know, is get up and go outside and hang out with the rodents and birds. But I am so fucking fatigued that the thought of changing modes is like it's easier to just sit here than do what I know I want to go do. Yeah, rocks. Actually, I can't vape. As a again, I'm part of a minor percentage. I am allergic to what they use in the vaping fluids. I tried a couple people's vapes and like different kinds, and then my ex looked it up. I was like, "Oh shit, you're allergic to it. There's X%." But when if I vape, and like for me, smoking's comfortable. I don't. I mean, occasionally I cough shit up, but it's always clear mucus. I don't get like the black shit. It's like healthy looking clear mucus. I generally don't feel congested by it or whatever. But if I take one hit off of a vape, my lungs fucking close up. I can fucking barely breathe. You're saying I could vape THC? Well, if it's anything, it's like the fuck. I don't know what the base of the fluid is. It's what they put the nicotine and whatnot. Yeah, that I also have no fucking interest. Although I do think vaping's funny. It's like it's like life is turning into a bad science fiction movie from the 70s where even cigarettes are electronic. People put this plastic tube up and press a button and the end lights up and they breathe in fucking artificial smoke. Smoking to me, yeah, I have all the inner archetype of the old shaman fucking smoking of when smoking was the inner archetype of the early man for whom smoking was part of evolution. Nothing had smoked before, and we discovered smoking. And I see smoking so fucking as such a natural thing. Like being very tied into the forest and the field, that to me, vapes are funny. It's like the world, yeah, is turning into a bad science fiction movie where there's even stupid electronic cigarettes. Fuck, all right, yeah, I'm finally going to force myself to overcome the inertia and end this. That way, Jennifer can go back to the beginning and see how I'm doing. No, see there, it's exactly what Brian's telling me to do. Yeah, I'm going to do it. So God bless. I hope everyone's well. My brain is taking note of the fact that people liked the update, and this is even easier for me than answering questions, putting words in answering messages. Trying to get even more linguistic and solids harder. So I don't know. Maybe maybe I'll pop on again since people showed up and seemed to get something out of this. Or maybe I won't. I'm not going to predict. Yeah, see, I've been on too long. Levi had time to skate and come back. You're very welcome. All right. God bless. Lunatic loved all.